The New York City skyline shimmered, a comic book page brought to life by the setting sun. High above the symphony of honking cars, a familiar figure swung through the concrete canyons with a joyful whoop. Whoa! Nothing beats fresh, wet fluid and a clear sky. Spider-Man laughed, executing a perfect flip before landing lightly on a skyscraper's edge. But just as he took in the view, his spider sense erupted, a familiar buzz at the base of his skull. Oh, that little tickle usually spells trouble. His gaze fell upon Central Park, where a massive, garish carnival had materialized as if from thin air. Giant clock-faced rides spun with manic energy, steam hissed from copper pipes, and an army of mechanical clowns performed a jerky, endless dance. A gaudy sign blinked, the Clockwork Carnival fun that never stops. Now that's suspicious, Spider-Man muttered to himself. Fun that never stops? Even I need a good snack break. He swung down, landing silently amidst the chaos. The air was filled with the laughter of children and the cheers of parents, but an unsettling rhythm pulsed beneath it all. The rides were moving way too fast. The Ferris wheel spun like a jet engine, and the carousel horses galloped with a frantic, unnatural speed. And then crash! A colossal robotic clown smashed through a cotton candy stand, its voice a metallic boom. Citizens of New York, fun time is now mandatory. Yep. Spider-Man sighed, stretching his arms. Definitely not OSHA approved. He fired a web, cleanly yanking the clown's arm from its socket in a shower of sparks. Hey, buddy, he called out. Ever heard of personal space? The clown lunged, but Spidey was already gone, flipping backward to stick gracefully to a popcorn cart. Just then, a slow, deliberate clap echoed from the carnival's main stage. A thin man in a long coat filled with gears and wires stepped out from the shadows, adjusting a pair of intricate goggles on his face. "Ah, Spider-Man," the man said, his voice smooth and condescending. Right on time, Spider-Man tilted his head. "Let me guess. You're an evil inventor. You have a thing for clocks. And a cuckoo clock wronged you in your childhood." A thin smile spread across the man's face. "I am the Tinkerer. And today, all of New York will finally run on my schedule." As he spoke, massive machines erupted from the ground, metal arms slammed down, locking the park gates and trapping everyone inside. "My magnificent carnival absorbs kinetic energy," the Tinkerer explained, gesturing grandly. "The laughter, the movement, the raw excitement. Soon, I will have enough power to control every machine, every circuit, every traffic light in this entire city." Spider-Man cracked his knuckles. "Yeah, sorry to burst your bubble, but I'm more of a freedom and ice cream kind of guy." Instantly, the ride spun even faster. The joyful screams of children twisted into cries of real fear. "Okay, Pete," Spider-Man whispered to himself, his focus narrowing. "Time to think fast." He shot a thick strand of webbing at the Ferris wheel's axle, using his own strength to slow its dizzying rotation. He then leaped to the roller coaster, firing web after web at the brakes until the car screeched to a halt. "Everyone stay calm," he shouted to the terrified crowd. "And please form an orderly line while escaping." "Just kidding, run!" As parents frantically grabbed their kids and scrambled for safety, Spider-Man swung overhead, a red and blue blur of motion. He was a one-man demolition crew, dismantling the mad machines midair. He whipped gears shut, jammed pistons with his fists, and even managed to tie two robotic clowns together. "Group hug," he joked as they crashed harmlessly into a fountain. But the ground suddenly trembled violently. From beneath the main stage, something enormous began to rise. Metal legs unfolded, steam billowed, and a giant clockwork spider, 10 times Spider-Man's size, pulled itself into view. "Oh, come on," Spidey groaned, landing on a lamppost. "That's just copyright infringement and plain bad taste." The mechanical monstrosity wasted no time, firing blasts of superheated steam and launching spinning blades from its limbs. Spider-Man dodged and weaved, flipping through the air with breathtaking agility. One of the blades sliced clean through his web line, sending him tumbling. Note to self, he grunted, catching himself. Upgrade web formula for evil steampunk villains. He launched himself forward, landing squarely on the robot's back and tearing open a service panel. Inside, he saw glowing energy cores pulsing in time with the screams from the remaining rides. The kid's laughter is powering this thing, he realized with a jolt of anger. That's just wrong. The robot bucked wildly, throwing him off and sending him crashing into a popcorn stand. Ow, that colonel had some serious revenge issues. From his stage, the Tinkerer laughed maniacally. You cannot stop progress, Spider-Man. Spider-Man pushed himself up slowly, bits of popcorn falling from his suit. No, he said, his voice steady. But I can definitely stop you. His eyes darted around the carnival, and then he saw in a pattern. Every machine, every robot, every spinning ride was synced to a massive, ornate clock tower that stood at the very heart of the carnival. Everything runs on one central timer, he said with a grin under his mask. Classic villain mistake. He broke into a sprint, a blur of motion dodging the mechanical spider's relentless attacks. He used his webs to slingshot himself off poles, gaining speed as the giant robot smashed through rides just behind him. Finally, he reached the tower and began to climb, scaling the clock face with impossible speed. Hey, Tinkerer, he shouted down from the top. Ever heard of daylight savings time? With practiced movements, he yanked out bundles of wires, crossed circuits, and then, for good measure, jammed the massive main gear with a thick glob of webbing. The effect was instantaneous. The entire carnival froze. The giant robot spider let out a metallic screech and collapsed into a heap of silent metal. The rides groaned to a halt. The hissing steam faded away. A sudden, blessed silence fell over Central Park. Seeing his plan in ruins, the Tinkerer tried to make a quick getaway on a bizarre, jet-powered unicycle. Oh no, you don't, Spider-Man said. THWIP. A single, perfectly aimed web shot later, and the Tinkerer was stuck, dangling upside down from the hands of his own clock tower. Looks like your time's up, Spider-Man quipped. As police cars arrived and cheering crowds gathered, a little boy pointed up at him, his face full of awe. Spider-Man! That was awesome! Spider-Man smiled beneath his mask, giving the kid a small wave. Thanks, kid! And remember, if a carnival shows up overnight with an army of robot clowns, maybe just skip it. Later, as the sun dipped below the horizon and crews began to dismantle the clockwork nightmare, Spider-Man perched on a lamppost, watching. Another day, another weird villain stopped. His phone buzzed in a hidden pocket. It was a text from Aunt May. Did you finish your homework? He sighed. Even superheroes can't escape responsibility. With a final glance at the city he protected, he leaped into the air, swinging off into the glowing skyline. Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, he said to the wind, always on time. New York City was calm again, or so it seemed. High above the streets, I was perched on a water tower, watching the city lights blink on one by one. I thought to myself, peaceful night. No robot clowns, no giant spiders, no. And then, my spider sense exploded. Okay, spoke too soon. Suddenly, the whole city just glitched. Traffic lights flickered like crazy. A bus froze mid-turn. People on the sidewalks were like statues, their eyes were blinking. But their bodies were locked in place. I just stared. That's not normal, and trust me, I'm an expert in not normal. Then I heard it. A massive tick, T-O-C-K, echoing through the air. A glowing time wave pulsed across the sky, coming from the old Clockwork Carnival site. Oh no, I muttered. Please don't tell me this is a Padta situation. I swung toward Central Park as fast as I could. The park was empty, but the carnival was back. Only now, it looked damaged, darker, and totally unstable. Broken gears were just floating in midair, spinning slowly like little planets. Time itself felt bent. And right in the center stood the Tinkerer. But something was different. His goggles were cracked, and his machines were sparking wildly. He snarled at me. You should have let me finish my work, Spider-Man. I landed lightly. Buddy, you were stealing joy from children. That's where I draw the line. He just slammed a lever, and the massive clock tower behind him started spinning backward. Suddenly, I blinked, and I was somewhere else entirely. The city was younger. Buildings were only half built. The cars on the street were from decades ago. Wait, Am I in the past? A familiar voice spoke right behind me. You are in a time fracture. I turned around and froze. It was me. Well, I said, this is awkward. Do we high-five or? The other Spider-Man just shook his head. No time. Literally, the Tinkerer has cracked the city's timeline back in the present. The Tinkerer was laughing as the city flickered between past, present, and future. New York will never move forward again, he shouted. Another wave hit, and I was thrown back into the present. Skyscrapers were aging and de-aging in seconds. Bridges rusted, then repaired themselves. I even saw a flash of a future Times Square dark and silent. This is bad. Like multiverse headache bad. Robotic enforcers emerged from the chaos. They were sleeker, faster, and glowing with time energy. They moved before I did. Hey, no fair cheating with time powers. I dodged narrowly and webbed one robot, but it just rewound itself, snapping free. Okay, I said. New rule aim for the brain. I noticed all the robots were synced to a glowing time core floating above the carnival. Then, suddenly boom, a sonic blast knocked several robots away. Need a hand, webhead. I looked up. Wait, you're Miles Morales, the other Spider-Man said, landing right beside me. Different universe, same responsibility. I couldn't help but grin. Nice timing. Miles smiled back, pun intended. Together, we swung into action, dodging attacks, and coordinating our moves like we'd been partners for years. Left robot's mine. Got it. What the core? But the core suddenly split. Creating multiple copies, the Tinkerer screamed, "You cannot stop time." That's when I realized something. The carnival isn't the source, I said. It's just a battery. Miles nodded. Then what's the generator? We both looked at the clock tower. Inside it, a small glowing device was pulsing violently. The chrono heart, I said. He built it to control time. Just then, the tower started collapsing. No more jokes, I said quietly. Let's end this. The two of us raced up the collapsing tower as time fractures exploded all around us. We saw past versions of New York flash by. Future versions crumbled. The Tinkerer was at the top, barely holding the chrono heart. If I can't control time, he screamed, I'll break it forever. I stepped forward. You're afraid of time moving on, I said gently. But you can't stop it. None of us can. For just a second, the Tinkerer hesitated. Then the chrono heart overloaded. No choice. Miles shouted, destroy it. I wrapped the device in layers and layers of webbing. Hope this works. I whispered, and then, boom, a blinding flash of light filled the sky. Silence. Then, I heard birds chirping. Cars started moving. People were laughing. Time was flowing again. The carnival vanished completely, leaving behind only grass and a few broken gears. The Tinkerer was gone, pulled into a time lock, frozen safely between seconds. Miles looked around. Looks like my cue to go. I nodded. Thanks for the save. Miles smiled. Same city, same hero. Different mask, and with a flash, he was gone. I swung back into the city, exhausted but smiling. Another day saved, I said to myself. Time repaired, no paradoxes, hopefully. My phone buzzed. It was Aunt May. Don't forget dinner. I laughed. Time waits for no one, especially Aunt May. I leaped into the night sky, friendly neighborhood. Spider-Man, I said, always right on time. Thanks for watching, everyone. New York City was finally quiet again. The streets were safe, the traffic lights were working, and the people were going about their day. Spider-Man swung above the skyline, enjoying the fresh evening breeze. Nothing like a peaceful city for about 5 minutes. Sure enough, his spider sense buzzed violently. Yep, there it is. The trouble is coming warning. Below, in the alleyways of Midtown, strange black threads stretched between buildings. Not web threads, but darker, shimmering fibers, like silk dipped in shadow. Pedestrians froze, staring at the strange patterns as a chilling laugh echoed through the streets. Great, Spider-Man said to himself. Shadow threads, laughing villain, my kind of day. A shadow moved along a rooftop, a figure dressed in black, with a hood covering most of their face. Their hands glowed with dark energy, weaving threads in midair. Spider-Man. The figure said softly, "I've been waiting for you." Spider-Man landed on a nearby fire escape. "Let me guess, you make webs, but evil webs." The figure smirked. "I am the Night Weaver, and soon this city will be mine, tangled in shadows forever." The Night Weaver swung her threads down into the city. They wrapped around traffic lights, street lamps, and even cars, immobilizing them instantly. Shadows began creeping along the walls, consuming light wherever they touched. People screamed and ran. Spider-Man swung down, landing in the middle of the street. "Okay, plan time. She controls shadows. Light beats darkness. Got it. Now where's my flashlight?" He swung through the shadows, trying to cut threads with his webs, but every time he touched one, it shrank back or split into more threads. This is like fighting a spider made of smoke. The Night Weaver appeared above him, dropping down silently. "You cannot stop me, Spider-Man. The darkness is patient, and so am I." "Good to know," Spider-Man said, flipping backward. "I'm very impatient, just as things seem to get worse." A familiar voice echoed from the rooftops. "Need a hand?" It was Miles Morales, swinging beside him. "Heard the news, shadow villain. Chaos in the streets. Figured I'd check in." Spider-Man grinned. "Perfect timing. I thought my day couldn't get any weirder." The two swung together, dodging shadow threads and rescuing trapped civilians. "Focus on the core of her power," Miles shouted as he threw a glowing web, illuminating the area. Spider-Man nodded. "Right, she's controlling light, or stealing it. We need to hit her source." Following the threads, the heroes arrived at an abandoned factory near the docks. The building was swallowed in darkness, yet faint glowing threads pulsed from inside. The Night Weaver waited atop a huge spinning web-like throne, made entirely of black threads that seemed alive. "You've come far," she said, "but the city will be mine. Darkness will reign." Spider-Man leapt forward. "Not if I have anything to say about it." The Night Weaver waved her hands, sending waves of shadows across the room. Spider-Man and Miles dodged expertly, but the shadows formed creatures, clawing at them from every direction. Miles," Spider-Man said nervously. "I think she's Spider-Manning us." Miles laughed. "Let Spider-Man her back." The heroes fought bravely, but the Night Weaver was powerful. Every web Spider-Man shot was absorbed into her threads. Shadows twisted and tangled around the heroes, trying to trap them. Spider-Man realized something. "She's feeding off our fear." Miles nodded. "Then let's calm down and hit her with confidence." Spider-Man grinned. "Time to shine, literally." He grabbed a series of bright construction lights nearby, swinging them into the center of the shadow threads. The beams blasted through the darkness, making the Night Weaver shriek. "You cannot escape the shadows," she screamed. Spider-Man swung high, shooting a web that tied up her glowing hands. Miles joined in, webbing the threads around her throne. The combined light energy started disintegrating the shadow threads. The Night Weaver tried one last attack, sending a massive shadow wave to engulf the heroes. Spider-Man and Miles looked at each other. "Ready?" Spider-Man asked. "Always," Miles replied. Together, they launched a coordinated web and light strike, hitting the Night Weaver directly. The shadows shrieked and disintegrated, leaving the villain suspended in midair. Trapped in glowing webs, the Night Weaver gasped. "No, light cannot win." Spider-Man landed next. To her, "Not today. Shadows are cool, but not when they're evil." Police arrived and secured her safely. The city lights flickered back to normal. Pedestrians cheered as Spider-Man and Miles swung away, leaving the factory behind. High above the city, Spider-Man and Miles took a moment to breathe. "Not bad for a night's work," Spider-Man said. Miles nodded. "New York sure knows how to pick its villains." Spider-Man laughed. "Yeah, first robot clowns, then a broken time machine, now a shadow spider. What's next? Giant mutant pigeons." Miles grinned. "Don't give them ideas." The two swung across the skyline, keeping the city safe, ready for whatever villain might rise next. Friendly neighborhood. Spider-Man, Peter said under his mask, and sometimes friendly neighborhood partner. Always a team, Miles said, swinging ahead. See you next time. New York City had seen its fair share of chaos, from robot clowns to time-bending machines. And then shadow-wielding villains. The city had somehow survived, and so had Spider-Man. Perched atop the Empire State Building, Spider-Man stretched, enjoying the calm night breeze. Finally, a quiet evening, he muttered, "Maybe I'll just swing by the pizza place," and his spider sense buzzed violently. Oh no, not again! Below, in Times Square, the lights began to flicker, cars screeched to a halt. Then, from the deepening shadows, figures emerged, familiar faces of chaos. The Tinkerer, still furious from his time machine failure. The Night Weaver, now freed from custody. Her shadow power stronger than ever. And a new figure, tall and muscular, with green armor and a massive mechanical arm techno-titan. A cyber-enhanced villain with a genius-level intellect. Together, they raised their hands toward the sky. The city has survived us individually, the Tinkerers. Voice echoed, but together we are unstoppable. Spider-Man landed in the middle of the square, his eyes narrowing under his mask. Great, a villain team up. Because one wasn't enough. The villains immediately set their plan into motion. The Tinkerer activated machines all over the city. Causing traffic chaos and collapsing structures, the Night Weaver stretched her dark threads across streets and rooftops. Trapping innocent civilians, Techno-Titan launched an army of drones that fired lasers and electrified nets. Spider-Man swung desperately between attacks, rescuing civilians, webbing down falling debris, and dodging laser blasts. Okay, focus, Pete, he muttered to himself. 3 villains, 1 city. You got this, maybe. From above, a familiar voice cut through the chaos. Looks like I'm not late to the party. It was Miles. Morales swinging through the mayhem with perfect timing. Thought I'd join. To Spider-Man are better than one, Miles said with a grin. Spider-Man smirked. You're officially my favorite backup. The heroes quickly realized a direct attack wouldn't work. They needed a strategy. Divide and conquer, Spider-Man whispered. I'll take the Tinkerer and his machines. Miles, you handle Night Weaver. We'll need to trap Techno-Titan last. Miles nodded. Got it. Shadows first, Spider-Man swung into the streets, dodging collapsing billboards as Tinkerer's mechanical arms reached for him. Meanwhile, Miles used his speed and agility to break through Night Weaver's shadow threads. Hey, Shadows, Miles shouted. Time to meet daylight. The Night Weaver hissed, pulling more threads from the surrounding darkness. But Miles, with clever web traps and quick moves, gradually began to corner her. Spider-Man reached the rooftops, where the Tinkerer controlled his massive machines. Your gadgets won't win this time, Spider-Man yelled. The Tinkerer just laughed. You underestimate my genius. Metal arms swung, gears whirred, and steam blasted in all directions. Spider-Man shot webs to jam gears, swung across platforms, and redirected flying machinery right back at the villain. Meanwhile, in a side street, Miles confronted Night Weaver. Lights on, he shouted, activating nearby street lamps and reflecting the light with his webbing. The shadows recoiled, allowing him to trap Night Weaver in a cocoon of glowing webs. Arg! You cannot defeat darkness, she screamed, struggling. Yeah, but you can get webbed. Miles quipped back. With his allies momentarily contained, Techno-Titan activated his ultimate weapon, a massive flying drone that fired powerful lasers and EMP waves across the city. Time for some real fun, he yelled, hovering above Times Square. Spider-Man and Miles regrouped. Team up time, Spider-Man said. The 2 Spider-Men swung through the chaos, dodging lasers and debris, using their incredible acrobatics and web tricks to disable the drone piece by piece. Techno-Titan's mechanical arm tried to grab them, but Miles disoriented him with quick web maneuvers, while Spider-Man climbed onto the drone and ripped out its core wires. The drone plummeted into the East River with a huge splash. Techno-Titan, furious, tried to escape, but Spider-Man launched a web lasso, snagging him right out of the air. With Techno-Titan captured and the other 2 villains trapped, the city began to calm down. Civilians cheered as the streets were cleared and the police secured the villains. The Times Square lights returned to their normal, bright glow. Spider-Man leaned against a lamppost. Exhausted but relieved. 3 villains, 1 city, 0 broken webs. Okay, maybe a few, he muttered. Miles landed beside him. That was intense, but hey, teamwork wins. Spider-Man nodded. Yeah, teamwork and a lot of sticky webbing. The 2 Spider-Men watched the city from above, the stars reflected in the skyscraper's glass, and the calming hum of the city settled their adrenaline. You think they'll be back? Miles asked. Probably, Spider-Man replied. But that's the thing about being a hero. Every time they rise, we rise higher. Miles smiled. Guess the city always has a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Spider-Man chuckled, and sometimes, too. A gentle wind blew as they swung across the skyline, ready for whatever awaited them next. But high above, in a dark corner of the city, a mysterious figure watched them go. A shadowy silhouette with glowing red eyes whispered to itself. The Spider-Men, they think they've won, but the real game begins now. Spider-Man swung past, unaware. But his spider sense twitched slightly. Something was coming, something bigger. The city slept, but danger lurked just around the corner. Spider-Man, Shadows over the City, Part 5, The Ultimate Showdown. New York City had survived robot clowns, a time-bending tinkerer, the shadowy Night Weaver, and the cyber genius Techno-Titan. The streets were quiet, or at least, that's what everyone thought. High above the city, Spider-Man perched on a skyscraper, surveying the calm. His mask reflected the neon lights below. Finally, some peace, he muttered. But then, his spider sense flared violently, more than it ever had before. Oh no, he groaned. That's not peace. That's catastrophic trouble, like N-of-the city trouble. From the shadows of a dark skyscraper, a figure stepped forward. It was a new villain, Oblivion. A towering figure in black armor with glowing red eyes. His voice echoed through the city streets. Spider-Man, you've meddled for the last time. Spider-Man tensed. Oblivion? Never heard of him. But judging by the armor and evil glare, he's probably not a good guy. Oblivion raised his hand, and the ground trembled, skyscrapers flickered, street lights exploded, and dark energy surged across Manhattan. Time, shadows, and your little enemies were just pawns. He declared, now the city belongs to me. Instantly, chaos erupted. Robotic drones fell from the sky, controlled by Oblivion's dark energy. Shadows from Night Weaver's previous attack reanimated, swirling across the streets. Tinker and Techno-Titan, freed by Oblivion's power, joined him willingly, their greed fueling their new alliance. Spider-Man swung into action, narrowly dodging a falling crane. Okay, new villain, old villains. Flying robots, I'm going to need more web fluid than usual. Just then, Miles Morales arrived, swinging right beside him. Looks like we're up against the whole rogues gallery, Miles said. Ready? Spider-Man grinned under his mask. Always. Let's save the city. Again, Spider-Man and Miles split up strategically. Miles focused on the shadow reinforcements, using his agility and bioelectricity to free trapped civilians. Spider-Man targeted Tinker and Techno-Titan, disabling their machines and high-tech gadgets. Above it all, Oblivion hovered, his red eyes glowing as he unleashed devastating energy blasts. Buildings shook, debris flew, and the streets became a battlefield. Spider-Man quipped mid-fight. Seriously, how do these villains keep multiplying? Did I miss the memo? Miles shot a web at a shadow tentacle? Focus, Peter. It's not about quantity, it's about strategy. Spider-Man realized they couldn't do this alone. They needed allies for this mega battle. Time to call in some favors, he muttered. And from rooftops across Manhattan, more friendly heroes appeared. Gwen Stacy, Spider-Woman, swung in gracefully. Black Cat used her stealth to disable enemy drones from the shadows. Even Miles' multiverse allies arrived, creating a web of teamwork across dimensions. Together, they formed a spider team, ready to tackle Oblivion and his cronies. Spider-Man yelled, "Team, let's web him up and save the city." Oblivion raised his hands, sending a massive shockwave of dark energy across the city. Even Spider-Man's web struggled to hold the flying debris. Miles shouted, "We need to hit his core. That armor is powered by something inside." Spider-Man nodded. "Everyone, focus on his chest. Distract, dodge, and hit." The heroes launched a series of coordinated attacks. Gwen swung through shadows, slicing them with sharp web lines. Black Cat used her gadgets to jam drones and create openings. Miles immobilized Techno-Titan with sticky webs, while Spider-Man tangled the Tinkerer in multiple layers. Finally, Spider-Man leapt onto Oblivion's chest, sticking his webs to the glowing red core. "Time to end this," Spider-Man muttered. Oblivion roared, thrashing violently. But the Spider team held firm. Miles called out, "Everyone, now!" With perfect timing, every hero struck at once. Spider-Man ripped open the armor with his webbing. Gwen delivered a high-speed strike, disrupting the power core. Miles wrapped the villain's arms in webs, immobilizing them, while Black Cat used an imp gadget to shut down the remaining drones. The red glow of Oblivion's core began to flicker. Then it exploded in a burst of harmless energy. Oblivion screamed as his armor cracked and fell apart. Tinkerer, Nightweaver, and Techno-Titan were trapped in thick webs, defeated once again. The city was safe. As dawn broke, Spider-Man and his team stood atop the Brooklyn Bridge. Watching the city come alive, Spider-Man sighed. "Wow, that was intense. Whole city battle. Villains everywhere. Mega villain, dimensional spider heroes. I might need a vacation." Miles laughed. "Yeah, but we did it. Teamwork wins every time." Spider-Man nodded, "And sometimes it takes a lot of web fluid." Gwen smiled. "You always save the day." Peter, Spider-Man smirked under his mask. "Well, a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man doesn't sleep." But far above, in the dark sky, a mysterious figure watched through binoculars. Spider-Man, so predictable. "You may have won today, but the real plan has just begun." Back on the bridge, Spider-Man's spider sense twitched. Somewhere, someone new was plotting. The city sparkled below, alive and safe for now. But danger would always loom over New York. Spider-Man and his allies swung into the sunrise, ready for whatever comes next. "Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man," he said with a grin. "And sometimes a friendly neighborhood team." The skyline glimmered. Heroes standing vigilant, because in New York City, the adventure never truly ends. New York City had seen it all. Robot clowns, time-traveling mayhem, shadow monsters, and even the mega-villain Oblivion perched high above the city on the Chrysler Building. Spider-Man let out a long sigh, swinging gently in the quiet night air. Finally, some peace and quiet, he mumbled. But just as he started to relax, his spider sense blared like an alarm clock he couldn't snooze. "Yep," he groaned. "That's the universal signal for don't get comfortable." Peter, from the dark canyons of the financial district, a new figure emerged. It was tall, cloaked, and wore armor that seemed to drink the city lights, pulling them into its inky surface. A chilling voice echoed across the rooftops. "Spider-Man, you think you've seen darkness? You've seen nothing." Spider-Man tilted his head, ever the conversationalist. "And you are?" The figure dramatically pulled back its hood, revealing pale, metallic skin and glowing violet eyes that pierced the gloom. "I am Eclipse," the voice declared, "master of shadows, darkness, and energy. I am the end of your city's light." With a flick of its wrists, Eclipse plunged the city into chaos. Street lights sputtered and died. Shadows writhed and stretched across the streets like living things. Cars froze, their headlights dimming to nothing, as a creeping black fog swallowed everything in its path. "Great!" Spider-Man quipped as he swung into action. "Another shadow villain, seriously. I'm gonna need a flashlight for this one, and maybe a backup generator for the whole city." Just then, another figure swung into view. It was Miles Morales. "Thought I'd check in," Miles called out. "Looks like we're dealing with some serious darkness this time." Spider-Man nodded, the gravity of the situation sinking in. "Yeah, this is the no-joke, city-ending kind of villain." The two heroes, quickly realized Eclipse was a whole new level of threat. Eclipse could absorb energy, making their webs and attacks useless. It could create shadowy copies of itself, confusing them at every turn. And worse, it was causing a city-wide blackout, draining power from everything nearby. Spider-Man dodged a wave of pure dark energy, ricocheting between darkened skyscrapers. Okay, Peter, think. New plan. You can't just punch darkness. Miles grinned, his suit faintly glowing. Guess we'll have to fight smart and bright. Realizing they couldn't do it alone, Spider-Man sent out the call. Soon, reinforcements arrived. Gwen Stacy, the acrobatic Spider-Woman, whose expertise in illusions would be key. Black Cat, the master of stealth, perfect for disabling high-tech threats. And in a shimmering portal, Doctor Strange appeared, ready to conjure protective shields of light to fight back the oppressive dark. Together, they formed the Spider-Light team. All right, Team Spider-Man announced, his voice filled with renewed confidence. Let's divide and conquer. Shadows can't hold us all. Downtown became a battlefield. Eclipse unleashed a massive wave of darkness, turning skyscrapers into jagged silhouettes as terrified citizens ran for cover. Spider-Man and Miles swung through a storm of debris, dodging dark tendrils that lashed out, trying to ensnare them. Light! We need to use light! Spider-Man shouted. He spotted nearby construction cranes and activated their reflective panels, bouncing beams of sunlight onto Eclipse's shadow clones, making them fizzle and dissolve. Miles moved like a blur, freeing trapped civilians and wrapping the shadow tendrils in glowing webs. Peter, their shadows are regenerating faster than we can web them, Miles yelled. Then we hit the source. Spider-Man replied, follow me. They tracked the energy to an abandoned skyscraper. Inside, the air hummed with power. Floating spheres of black energy pulsed ominously, absorbing any stray light. Hovering above it all was Eclipse, flanked by shadow minions. You cannot stop me, the villain boomed. Every strike you land only strengthens me. Spider-Man stepped forward. Then we'll just have to fight smarter, not harder. Gwen sprang into action, creating dazzling reflective illusions that sent the shadow minions into a confused frenzy. Black Cat moved like a ghost, disabling the energy spheres one by one with targeted EMP devices. Miles unleashed his venom powers, his glowing fists counteracting the absorbed light with every punch. Spider-Man saw his opening the main power core, glowing faintly in the center of Eclipse's chest armor. But Eclipse wasn't finished. It unleashed one final, devastating wave, plunging the entire city into absolute, pitch-black silence. It's now or never, Spider-Man muttered. He launched a webline, this one specially modified to carry a powerful light source, swinging it directly at Eclipse's core. Miles instantly amplified it with a full-blast venom shockwave, while Gwen and Black Cat coordinated their efforts, trapping Eclipse in a cage of intersecting webs and light. The clash was deafening. Light and dark energy fought for dominance. Shadows shrieked as the building trembled. No! Eclipse screamed, its voice cracking. I am eternal. Spider-Man landed squarely on the core, wrapping it in layer after layer of glowing webs. Not today, he said, gritting his teeth. With one final, concussive venom blast from Miles, Eclipse's armor shattered. The dark energy imploded, then dissipated in a blinding flash of pure, brilliant light. As the sun's rays broke through, the city slowly came back to life. Civilians cheered from the rooftops. Street lights flickered on. Eclipse lay defeated, trapped in a cocoon of glowing webs, its power gone. Exhausted, Spider-Man collapsed onto a nearby rooftop. That was intense. My arms are tired just from swinging through all that darkness. Miles landed beside him, laughing. New York is lucky to have you, man. Spider-Man grinned back. And lucky to have you swinging around, too. Gwen joined them, a smile on her face. The city is safe for now. Yeah, Spider-Man agreed, looking out at the rising sun. Until the next one shows up. But high above them, hidden in the clouds, a massive, shadowy ship hovered, unseen, inside. A mysterious figure watched a monitor displaying the scene below. Spider-Man, so persistent. A deep voice rumbled. Eclipse was only the beginning. Soon, the entire world will tremble. Down below, Spider-Man's spider sense gave a faint, almost imperceptible twitch. He knew something else was coming, something bigger. But as he looked at the sparkling city below, he pushed the thought aside. He was the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and he'd always be ready, no matter how dark it gets.